Victoria Richardson's hand shook as she held her coffee cup. For 3 years, she had waited to hear her daughter's voice. 3 long years of silence. 3 years of the best doctors, the most expensive therapists, and endless tears in the dark. Nothing worked. Her daughter Emma, only 7 years old, hadn't spoken a single word since the car accident. The crash that took her father's life had also stolen her voice. Emma could hear perfectly. She could understand everything. But something inside her had locked tight, and no amount of money could open it. Victoria was a billionaire. She owned a huge technology company that helped people with disabilities. Ironic, wasn't it? She could help thousands of strangers, but she couldn't help her own child. That Tuesday morning at Meadowbrook Hills Playground changed everything. The playground was special. Only the richest families could use it. Perfect green grass, sparkling fountains, golden gates. Everything looked like a dream. But for Victoria, it was just another place where Emma stayed silent. Emma sat on the swing, moving slowly back and forth. Her big brown eyes watched the flowers near the fence. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just existed in her quiet world. Victoria's heart broke every single day. Then she saw him. A tall black man in work clothes knelt by the flower bed. His hands moved gently through the soil, planting something. He wore simple jeans and a green shirt with dirt stains. A gardener. His name tag said Marcus. Emma stopped swinging. She stared at him. Victoria felt her stomach flip. Emma never showed interest in anything anymore. But now, her daughter's eyes were locked on this man working with the flowers. Marcus looked up and smiled at Emma. Not a big smile, just a soft, kind one. Then he did something strange. He held up a small white flower and slowly brought it close to his nose. He breathed in deeply, his eyes closing like he was somewhere magical. Emma stood up from the swing. Victoria's heart hammered. Emma walked toward the fence, toward the gardener. This never happened. Emma never approached strangers. Never. "Hi there," Marcus said quietly. His voice was warm like honey. "You like flowers?" Emma nodded. Just a tiny movement. Victoria stood frozen, afraid to breathe, afraid to break whatever magic was happening. Marcus held the white flower through the fence. "This is called jasmine. It smells like summer nights and happy memories. Want to smell it?" Emma reached out carefully. She took the flower, brought it to her nose, and then, "Pretty." The word floated through the air like a miracle. Victoria's coffee cup crashed to the ground. The sound echoed across the playground, but she didn't care. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't believe what she'd just heard. Emma had spoken, after 3 years, after hundreds of thousands of dollars, after countless specialists and therapy sessions and prayers. A gardener with a flower had done what no one else could. "Emma?" Victoria whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Baby." But before she could reach her daughter, another voice cut through the moment like a knife. "Get away from that child." Patricia Whitmore stormed across the playground like a hurricane in pearls and designer shoes. Her face was twisted with anger and something uglier, much uglier. Patricia was the president of the Meadowbrook Hills Resident Association. She was rich, powerful, and mean. Everyone knew it. Everyone feared her. "You!" Patricia pointed at Marcus like he was a criminal. "What do you think you're doing? Talking to these children?" Marcus stood up slowly. He was calm, too calm, like he'd dealt with people like Patricia 1,000 times before. "I was just showing her the flowers, ma'am," he said evenly. She seemed interested. Interested? Patricia's voice got louder. "You have no business talking to our children. Do you understand me?" "None." Victoria finally found her legs. She rushed forward, put herself between Patricia and Marcus. "Patricia, wait. He didn't do anything wrong. He just..." "Victoria, don't be naive." Patricia grabbed Victoria's arm. "Do you know who this man is? What he could want? These people, they always have some angle, some plan. These people..." Victoria pulled her arm away. The words hung in the air like poison. Marcus's face didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Something sad and tired, and far too familiar with this kind of hate. "I'm just a gardener, ma'am," Marcus said quietly. "I meant no harm." "Just a gardener," Patricia repeated mockingly. "That's exactly what I'm afraid of. Some random man with access to our children. It's completely inappropriate." She turned to Victoria. "And you should be more careful, especially with Emma's condition. Who knows what kind of person would take advantage?" "Stop it." Victoria's voice cracked like thunder. "Stop talking. Just stop." Patricia's mouth fell open. Victoria Richardson never raised her voice. Never. "That man," Victoria pointed at Marcus, her hand shaking, "just did something no doctor could do." Emma spoke. "For the first time in 3 years, my daughter spoke." Patricia blinked. That's impossible." "I heard it. I was right there." Victoria felt the tears coming again. He showed her a flower, and she said, "Pretty." She spoke, "Patricia." But Patricia's face didn't soften. Instead, it got harder, colder. "All the more reason to be suspicious," Patricia said slowly. "Don't you think it's strange? Convenient? Maybe he's done research on you. On Emma. Maybe this is all some elaborate scheme." Scheme? Victoria couldn't believe what she was hearing. A scheme involving flowers and kindness? "You're too trusting, Victoria." Patricia crossed her arms. "I'm calling an emergency meeting. We need to discuss this man's presence here, his access, his behavior." She looked at Marcus with pure disgust. "We need to discuss whether he should be here at all." Marcus met her gaze steadily. "I understand your concerns, ma'am. I'll be happy to answer any questions the association has." "Oh, you'll answer questions all right," Patricia sneered. She turned on her expensive heels and marched away, her phone already at her ear. Victoria stood there, her mind spinning. Emma clutched the white jasmine flower in her small hand, looking confused by all the shouting. "I'm sorry," Victoria said to Marcus. "I'm so sorry." She had no right. "It's okay," Marcus said, but his eyes told a different story. "I'm used to it." Those 4 words hit Victoria like a punch. Used to it. This kind, gentle man who'd just given her daughter a miracle was used to being treated like a criminal because of the color of his skin. "What's your full name?" Victoria asked suddenly. "Marcus Thompson." "Marcus Thompson," Victoria repeated. She looked at him carefully. Really looked. His hands were rough from work. Yes, but the way he carried himself, the way he spoke, there was something more there, something hidden. "Thank you," Victoria whispered. "For Emma, thank you." Marcus smiled again. That same soft, kind smile. "No thanks needed. She's a special kid." I could see it in her eyes. As Victoria led Emma away, she looked back once. Marcus was kneeling by the flowers again, working like nothing had happened. But she saw him wipe his face quickly, and Victoria Richardson made a decision. She was going to find out who Marcus Thompson really was, and she was going to protect him from Patricia Whitmore's hate, no matter what it took. Monday morning came with dark clouds. Marcus arrived at work to find an envelope taped to the gardening shed door. His name was written in sharp, angry letters. He knew before opening it that this was trouble. The letter inside was typed on fancy paper with a gold header. Meadowbrook Hills Resident Association. "Mr. Thompson, you are hereby warned that your conduct with minor children has been observed and reported. Section 7.3 of our community guidelines strictly prohibits service staff from unauthorized interaction with residents and their families. Any further violations will result in immediate termination. Consider this your only warning. Patricia Whitmore, President." Marcus folded the letter slowly. His jaw tightened. 20 years ago, this would have made him angry. Now it just made him tired. He'd been a gardener for 6 months. Before that, he'd tried being a consultant. Before that, a medical advisor. Before that, a teacher. Every job ended the same way. Someone like Patricia would see his skin color before they saw his skills, see his work clothes before they saw his worth. Marcus. He turned to see Emma running across the grass, her mother hurrying behind her. Emma's face was bright with joy. She held out a drawing. "Look." Emma's voice was small but clear. I drew the flower, the pretty one. Marcus knelt down, his heart warming. On the paper was a white flower drawn in crayon. Not perfect, but beautiful because Emma had made it. That's wonderful, Marcus said softly. You're a real artist. Emma wanted to see you, Victoria explained, slightly out of breath. She's been talking more. Not a lot, but it's progress. Real progress. Her eyes were shiny with tears. Because of you. Patricia Whitmore appeared from nowhere, as if she'd been waiting, watching. Victoria, didn't you get my message? Patricia's voice was ice. I specifically said that Mr. Thompson is not to interact with children. Emma grabbed Marcus's hand. He's my friend. Patricia's face turned red. Emma, sweetheart, you don't understand. This man is just a help. He's not your friend. Come away now. No. Emma's voice got louder, stronger. He's nice. You're mean. Victoria's eyes went wide. Emma never talked back to adults, never defended anyone. But here she was, protecting Marcus. Emma, Patricia gasped. That is incredibly rude. Victoria, control your child. My child just stood up for someone being treated unfairly, Victoria said coolly. I'm actually proud of her. Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish. You're making a terrible mistake. Both of you. This man, he's not what he seems. I can feel it. What do you mean by that? Marcus asked quietly. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. I mean, Patricia stepped closer, lowering her voice to a nasty whisper. That people like you always have an angle. Always. You target rich families, vulnerable children. You work your way in with your flowers and your smiles. But I see through it. People like me, Marcus repeated. Tell me, Mrs. Whitmore, what kind of person am I? Patricia's eyes flickered. She knew she'd gone too far, but her pride wouldn't let her back down. The kind who doesn't belong here, she hissed. Victoria stepped between them. That's enough. Marcus has every right to work here. And Emma has every right to say hello to someone who helped her. We'll see about that, Patricia said. She walked away, her phone already out, typing furiously. Marcus watched her go. Mrs. Richardson, you should be careful. Patricia Whitmore is powerful here. She can make things difficult for you. Let her try, Victoria said, but her face showed worry. Marcus, can I ask you something? How did you know? How did you help Emma when no one else could? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. He looked at Emma, who was humming softly and studying her drawing. I've worked with people who lost their voices before, he said carefully. Different situations, different reasons. But the result is the same. They build walls inside. Sometimes, all they need is someone to show them it's safe to come out, to remind them that the world still has beautiful things in it. That sounds like more than gardening, Victoria said, watching him closely. Marcus smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Everyone has more to them than their job title, Mrs. Richardson. Victoria. Call me Victoria. Victoria, he nodded. I should get back to work. As he walked away, Victoria pulled out her phone. Something was going on. Something bigger than she understood. She was going to find out what. That evening, Marcus sat in his small apartment. The walls were bare except for one photo. Him in military uniform, much younger, standing with his unit. He stared at it for a long time before pulling out his phone. He dialed a number he hadn't called in months. Davidson, a gruff voice answered. Colonel, it's Marcus. There was a pause. Thompson? That really you? Yes, sir. I need a favor. I need you to send my complete military records to an address. Your records? Marcus, what's going on? Are you in trouble? Marcus laughed, but it sounded bitter. When am I not in trouble, sir? Talk to me. It's the same old story. Different place, same problem. People see the skin, not the service. See the job, not the journey. Colonel Davidson sighed heavily. Where are you working now? I'm a gardener at a fancy community. It's good work, honest work. But some people, they can't handle a black man existing in their perfect world without assuming the worst. Jesus, Marcus, you're a decorated war hero. You saved dozens of lives in Afghanistan. You're a trained surgeon, for God's sake. Doesn't matter what I was, sir. Only matters what they see. This is wrong. After everything you've been through, everything you've done for this country. I know, Marcus said quietly, but it is what it is. Can you send those records? I have a feeling I'm going to need proof soon. You got it. And Marcus, don't let them break you. You're worth 10 of them. After he hung up, Marcus sat in the darkness. His hands trembled slightly. The nightmares from the war never fully left. The faces of soldiers he couldn't save. The blood. The screaming. He'd come back from Afghanistan with medals and scars. Inside and out, he dreamed of returning to surgery, of healing people like he used to. But every hospital interview ended the same way. They'd see his resume, get excited. Then they'd see him walk in, and suddenly there were concerns about his psychological fitness. After combat, code words. Always code words. Nobody wanted to say it out loud, but Marcus knew. A black man with PTSD wasn't worth the risk to them. Better to hire someone safer, someone whiter. So he became a gardener. At least plants didn't judge. Meanwhile, across town in Patricia Whitmore's mansion, 5 women sat around a glass table drinking expensive wine. He's dangerous, Patricia declared. I feel in my bones. Did you hire the investigator? Asked Margaret Chun, another resident. Of course. Richard Mallory. The best. He'll dig up everything. Criminal record, debts, failed relationships. Everyone has secrets. What if he's clean? Asked another woman nervously. Patricia's smile was cruel. Nobody is completely clean. We'll find something. We always do. The women nodded, sipping their wine. To them, this was a game. A way to protect their perfect world from outsiders, from people who didn't belong. They had no idea who Marcus Thompson really was. They had no idea what was coming. The next morning, Victoria arrived at the playground early. She found Marcus already working, deadheading roses. She handed him a small box. What's this? Marcus asked. Open it. Inside was a smartphone. Brand new. Expensive. Victoria, I can't accept. It's not a gift. It's a tool. Victoria's eyes were fierce. Patricia and her friends are planning something. I can feel it. You need to protect yourself. Record every conversation. Document everything. Marcus looked at the phone, then at Victoria. You're risking a lot. These are your neighbors. Your community. My community? Victoria laughed bitterly. These people are my community. Emma, and I don't fit here either, Marcus. I'm just rich enough that they pretend to accept us. But a single mother with a disabled child? We're not their ideal either. We're just tolerated. Marcus saw the pain in her eyes. The loneliness. Thank you, he said, taking the phone. I'll use it wisely. Good, because Patricia Whitmore is going to come at you hard. And when she does... Victoria's smile was sharp. We're going to be ready. Marcus smiled back. For the first time in a long time, he didn't feel alone in the fight. The war was just beginning. The emergency meeting was called for Friday evening. Every resident received a formal invitation on cream-colored paper. The subject line made Marcus's stomach tight. Community safety concerns. The community center buzzed with whispers. 70 people packed into the room. Rich families in designer clothes. Perfect hair. Perfect lives. All eyes turned when Marcus walked in. He wore his work uniform. Clean, but still just a gardener's clothes. He could have worn something nicer, but he wanted them to see exactly who they were judging. Victoria sat in the front row with Emma. She caught Marcus's eye and nodded. Ready? Patricia Whitmore stood at the podium like a queen at her throne. Her smile was poisonous. Thank you all for coming, Patricia began. We have a serious matter to discuss. The safety of our children. The integrity of our community. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. As you know, we hire service staff to maintain our beautiful grounds. We do background checks. We follow procedures. But sometimes, she paused dramatically, people slip through the cracks. Marcus felt every eye on him. He kept his face calm, neutral. He'd learned that trick in the military. Never let them see you sweat. I hired a private investigator to look into Mr. Marcus Thompson. Patricia clicked a button. A screen lit up behind her with Marcus's photo. What we found is disturbing. Victoria's hand tightened on Emma's shoulder. Mr. Thompson has a history of psychological problems. Patricia announced. Military service, combat exposure, PTSD. These are documented facts. The crowd gasped. Parents pulled their children closer. He was discharged from medical service under suspicious circumstances. That's a lie. Marcus's voice cut through the room like a blade. He stood up slowly. Every inch of him radiated control power. Patricia blinked. Excuse me. I said that's a lie. Marcus walked to the front of the room. I was honorably discharged, with full benefits, with commendations. The investigator's report clearly states. The investigator twisted facts to fit your narrative. Marcus's voice was calm, but it filled the entire room. You wanted a villain, so you created one. How dare you? Patricia's face turned red. You're just a gardener. You don't get to speak to me this way. Just a gardener, Marcus repeated. He smiled, but his eyes were cold. You keep saying that, like it's all I am, like it's all I've ever been. Victoria stood up. Maybe Marcus should tell everyone who he really is. Patricia laughed. Oh, this should be good. What? Are you going to claim you're some secret millionaire? A prince in disguise? Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope, the one from Colonel Davidson. My name is Marcus Anthony Thompson, he said, clearly. Captain Marcus Thompson, United States Army Medical Corps. Retired. The room went silent. I served 3 tours in Afghanistan. I was a combat surgeon. I performed over 200 field surgeries. I saved 47 lives that would have been lost without immediate intervention. He opened the envelope and pulled out papers. Awards. Certificates. Photos of him in uniform with generals, with senators, with the soldiers whose lives he'd saved. I received the Bronze Star for Valor, the Purple Heart after I was injured saving 5 soldiers from a collapsed building, the Meritorious Service Medal, the Army Commendation Medal with Valor Device. Patricia's mouth opened, but no sound came out. I came home a hero, Marcus continued, his voice tight with emotion. I dreamed to continue my surgical work, saving lives in hospitals like I saved them in war zones. But nobody would hire me, not because I wasn't qualified, not because I wasn't skilled, but because I had PTSD from watching my friends die, because I'm black, because people like you, Mrs. Whitmore, see the color of my skin before you see the content of my character. I didn't know. Patricia stammered. You didn't want to know, Marcus said. You saw a black man working with his hands and assumed the worst. You created an entire conspiracy theory because you couldn't imagine that maybe, just maybe, I was a good person doing honest work. Victoria stood beside him. And it gets better. Marcus showed him the phone. Marcus pulled out the smartphone Victoria had given him. For the past week, I've been recording my interactions, documenting everything. Mrs. Whitmore, you said a lot of interesting things when you thought no one was listening. Patricia's face went white. Should I play it? Marcus asked the crowd. Should everyone hear what your president really thinks? No, you can't. Marcus pressed play. Patricia's voice filled the room, crystal clear. These people always have an angle. People like you don't belong here. Probably has a criminal record. Suspicious how he targeted that rich woman's child. Then Margaret Chen's voice. We need to get rid of him before he brings down the property values. You know how those people are? Then another woman. My husband says we should call immigration. He probably isn't even legal. The recording played for 2 full minutes. Every racist comment. Every assumption. Every lie they'd told about Marcus. When it ended, the silence was deafening. Faces in the crowd showed shame, shock, anger. Parents looked at their children, realizing what kind of example they'd been setting. I'm just a gardener, Marcus said quietly. Just a man trying to make an honest living after serving his country. I helped a little girl find her voice again because I know what it's like to lose something precious. I know what it's like to fight to get it back. Emma stood up on her chair. Her small voice rang out clear and strong. Marcus is my friend. He's a good man. You're all mean. Several people started clapping. Then more. Then more. The applause grew until half the room was standing, clapping for Marcus and booing Patricia. Patricia grabbed her papers and ran from the room, tears streaming down her face. Victoria put her hand on Marcus's arm. You okay? I'm tired, Marcus admitted. But yeah, I'm okay. An older man approached, shame on his face. Mr. Thompson, Captain Thompson, I'm sorry. We all should have known better. Should have been better. Others came forward, apologizing, asking questions about his service, thanking him for what he'd done for the country. But Marcus knew the truth. Some of these people would change. Some wouldn't. Some would tell themselves they'd never really been part of the problem. That was okay. He hadn't done this to change everyone. He'd done it to stand up for himself, to prove that he mattered. 3 months later, Emma ran across the playground, her voice bright and cheerful. She talked to everyone now, sang songs, told jokes. Her voice was her own again. Marcus knelt by a new flower bed, planting roses. But now when people passed, they said hello, asked about his military service, treated him like a human being. Victoria approached with coffee and cookies. The board voted unanimously. Patricia's been removed as president. They're actually creating a diversity and inclusion committee. Progress, Marcus said with a small smile. Slow progress, but progress. Victoria watched Emma play. You changed everything, Marcus. Not just for Emma, for all of us. I didn't change anything. I just told the truth. Sometimes that's the most revolutionary thing you can do. Marcus looked at the flowers blooming around them. White jasmine, the same kind he'd shown Emma that first day, the day everything changed. You know, Victoria said softly, I've been thinking. My company develops assistive technology. We could use someone with your medical background, someone who understands trauma and recovery. If you're interested. Marcus looked at her, surprise in his eyes. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you an opportunity to use all of who you are, not just part of it, to help people the way you helped Emma. Marcus felt something unfold in his chest. Hope, real hope. I'd like that, he said. I'd like that very much. Emma ran over, holding a jasmine flower. Marcus, look what I found. Pretty, just like you showed me. Marcus took the flower gently. It's beautiful, Emma, just like your voice. She grinned and ran back to play. Victoria smiled. Heroes come in all forms, don't they? Yes, Marcus said, watching children play. Yes, they do. The sun broke through the clouds, warming everything it touched. Marcus Thompson stood in the light, no longer just a gardener, no longer just a soldier, but finally completely himself. And that was worth more than all the medals in the world. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear this message today, and subscribe for more inspiring stories that remind us of the power of truth, courage, and human dignity. Because every voice matters. Every story deserves to be heard. And sometimes, the most ordinary moments create the most extraordinary miracles.